What's up, guys? Thomas Mott here. Welcome into the Thomas Mott Show on a Tuesday. We've had our first major injury in the world of the Philadelphia Eagles, a torn ACL for Derek Barnett. Is it serious in terms of actually affecting the defensive line? Is it not? What about some replacement candidates? Jason Pierre-Paul was thrown out there by none other than Clay Harbor. Recognize Clay Harbor? He was on The Bachelor, but also was a Philadelphia Eagles tight end a long time ago. We'll dive into that. Plus, at the end of today's show, as we always do, our national story of the day. People are freaking out about the Broncos lost last night, and yes, it was a terrible overall play to kick a 64-yard field goal, but I think Denver's going to be just fine. We'll talk about that coming up here at the end of today's show. As always, if you're brand new, welcome to the Thomas Mott Show. Be sure to go down below and subscribe and hit that thumbs up button as we keep growing. If you guys like me talking about the National Football League and your beloved Philadelphia Eagles, you like me rocking the vintage Kelly Green today, hit that subscribe button. We would greatly appreciate it. Okay, into the story of the day. This broke later yesterday afternoon, so of course we hit it early here on a Tuesday morning. Bleeding Green Nation, as always, has the write-up. Derek Barnett to miss rest of 2022 season with ACL injury. And so here's the quote. NFL insider Adam Schefter was first to report the news. Nick Sirianni later confirmed this unfortunate development during his Monday afternoon press conference. Barnett had to leave the game midway through the third quarter. The Eagles originally ruled him questionable to return, but he never came back in. The Eagles' decision to re-sign Barrett to a 2-year contract worth $14 million earlier this offseason was not a popular one, though not an outright bust. The 2017 first-round pick has underwhelmed during his tenure in Philadelphia. He's especially frustrated fans with ill-advised penalties last year, end quote. So this is kind of interesting in terms of Barnett and the rest of the defensive line. And he's read that last line there. Eagle fans don't like Derek Barnett. They're very frustrated by Derek Barnett because he was a first-round draft pick. He was supposed to be, he was the leading sacker in Tennessee football history back whenever you drafted him a couple of years back, and he never really turned out to do anything better than what he did his rookie season, where he had, pretty decent amount of sacks, 2 in the postseason, and the fumble recovery of Tom Brady. And so on one hand, you could see Eagle fans going out there and being like, hey, not a big deal, BG is there, Josh Sweat has, the 4th best pass rusher win rate after week 1. He had a higher pass rush win rate than TJ Watt. He was really good, even though he didn't get to the quarterback. We're fine. I think the Eagles are actually going to be hurt by this one. I think that Derek Barnett, for all of his flaws, is still a solid rotational pass rusher in there, and it's going to make their pass rush a little bit weaker overall, to the point that I think they might need to go out and sign somebody to hopefully bolster the pass rush. Let's keep in mind, did they have a sack in their win against the Detroit Lions? They did. It was the Fletcher Cox one, but it was more of a coverage sack. They did not have a single sack in that football game where a pass rusher or a defensive lineman beat their offensive lineman and was able to get to the quarterback. And that was Philadelphia's big problem last year, completely unable to get to the quarterback. They were 29th in total sacks last year. It was very bad, hence why they went out and got Hassan Reddick, and Reddick didn't have a sack in that game, even though he had some opportunities. So I think this is definitely a blow to Philadelphia. It's not a crippling blow. It's not a blow that's going to derail their season. They'll be just fine, but I do think that having one less rotational guy on the defensive line is a concern for Jonathan Gannon's defense, and it would not surprise me if they go out to go ahead and sign somebody. And I think that we need to keep an eye on, as a whole, little side note here, to make sure this defensive line plays better, because they got worked a little bit against the Lions. I know Detroit has a good front 5, really great running game, but overall, this vaunted Eagle pass rush, which I said was going to be the best we've seen in years, really didn't do much on Sunday, and that has got to improve, especially against the Minnesota Vikings, who have a weaker offensive line, but still a lot of weapons, obviously, on the outside, Dalvin Cook and Kirk Cousins. Now, I mentioned Clay Harbor. Do you remember Clay Harbor? If you watch The Bachelor, or your girlfriend watches The Bachelor, your wife watches The Bachelor, you might have seen him. He was eliminated early on a couple of seasons ago. Don't ask me why I know this. But he was a former Eagle tight end, and he did play in the National Football League, and he has a recommendation here for the Philadelphia Eagles. How about this tweet? This comes via Heavy.com. Jason Pierre-Paul is a free agent and wants to play still. I think he is worth a look. #fly Eagles fly. Eagles. And the write-up here from Heavy is pretty decent, a good summary on where we're at right here. The former Giant defensive end is a 3-time Pro Bowler, most recently earning that honor in 2020. He was an All-Pro in 2011, won 2 Super Bowls, one with the Giants, one with the Bucs. Last season, the 33-year-old had 2.5 sacks in 12 games, and so that's kind of why he's still a free agent, because he's 33 years old and only had 2.5 sacks back in 12 games. So the question becomes, would you rather Teron Jackson contribute more from a pass rush perspective? Would you rather go out there and sign a guy like JPP and hope that he can go ahead and fill the Chris Long role? I think we're a little too mesmerized by what Chris Long was able to do during the Super Bowl run in 2017. We just envision now that there's going to be this older, wiser pass rusher who plays 30% of the snaps, mainly in the fourth quarter, and can give you, 8 or 9 sacks in a year. And we're trying to find that each and every season. You think back when they got Ryan Kerrigan a couple of years back, and he was an absolute bust. So I don't mind the JPP talk. I wouldn't hate the signing for a veteran minimum, but to think that Jason Pierre-Paul is going to waltz into Philadelphia and be a 9, 10, 11, 12 sack guy because he's 2 years removed from a Pro Bowl appearance in 2020, to me is a little bit ridiculous. So I'm going to hold off on wanting to go ahead and get Jason Pierre-Paul, but know that the name is being thrown around right now on Twitter. A lot of Eagle fans are talking about it. Some of the blog websites, as I mentioned, heavy.com has this one here, and it'll be very interesting to see just how important Derek Barnett was in the Eagle coaching staff mind, because if they go sign somebody, it shows that they really are going to miss him. If they don't sign somebody, then I think it shows that they are fine with him either being there or not being there, and it's not a big loss. I don't know, JPP, is there anyone else out there? If you guys have another name, you can throw it down below. I read D Ford on EaglesWire.com, and it was like, gosh, there's some... If you're a free agent right now, there's a reason you're a free agent right now. I always got to remember that as an Eagle fan. There's a reason you are a free agent. You're not like you're some, diamond in the rough that all other teams have missed on, and your team was the one that went ahead and found him. So just let that be known. Okay, one other Eagle story here from Bleeding Green Nation before we get into our National League story of the day. This was interesting, and it comes via Bleeding Green Nation, as I mentioned. It's Jalen Hurts' thoughts on his Week 1 performance. You see it here. Didn't meet my standards, right? So let's go ahead and throw it up on the screen here, and this is a long article from PE.com, but I want to get to really the quote here from Jalen Hurts, and we'll throw it up right here. I just thought it was a good game all around that he had, and I thought he was seeing the defense as well and getting us to what we needed to go to. That was, of course, Nick Sirianni. However, Jalen Hurts didn't seem to be as thrilled by his performance. We talked about this yesterday in terms of what Sirianni thought. Here it is, quote, "It didn't meet my standards today. It didn't. I'll just say that. We barely could hear him, but how he managed the game, I think he did really well. I'm sure he's going to say it wasn't good enough, but that's the mentality that he has." And that's, of course, the Eagles quarterback, Coach Brown, mentioning that as well. So you get a little bit of Hurts not being fully impressed by what he was able to do, and he was pretty good. I mean, 18 of 32, 90 rushing yards, 1 touchdown on 17 carries, 243 through the air. The accuracy was... I don't know if it was an issue. I thought he was a lot more accurate with the football, but we need the completion percentage to go ahead and go up. And so when you read something like Jalen Hurts, didn't meet my standards in a Week 1 performance, it at least shows that he's hungry for more. Jalen Hurts understands what he needs to be this year. Jalen Hurts understands the expectations that he has this year. The expectation is that this Eagle team will not only win the division, talked about that yesterday, but they will win 10, 11, 12 games. They'll win a playoff game and be a threat for the Super Bowl in the NFC. And if Hurts plays great, they can 100% do that. If he doesn't, though, that's when, of course, the drama starts and the whole idea of drafting a quarterback in 2023 gets a little bit more interesting. So, I think Hurts is being a little hard on himself. I thought he was great. The Eagles won because of him. As I saw that on a quote on Jacob Media yesterday, they won because of him, not in spite of him. That is good news for Eagle fans, but I'm always fine with Hurts wanting to improve. I think every player should want to improve, even if you have, 4 touchdowns and 500 yards, right? A.J. Brown should try to improve, despite the fact that he had one of the highest, debut total yards in NFL history. With his 155 and 10 total catches. So good to see Hurts, wanting a little bit more, but the JPP stuff and the Derek Barnett is the big story of the day. As we always do here in the Thomas Mott Show, our National League story is the one you're going to see all over ESPN. You probably already saw it, listening to radio or driving into work today or watching SportsCenter. Denver's decision on 4th down and 5 to not go for it and to kick the field goal. They were obviously wrong for this, but let me just give you a quick take here. I thought about this all morning long. Denver's going to be okay. The Denver Broncos are going to be just fine. Russell Wilson looked very, very good last night. The Seattle Seahawks just outperformed what they're supposed to be. I mean, Geno Smith was really, really good. Obviously, they had a lot of weapons on the outside catching passes. Lockett and Metcalf and Colby Parkinson had a receiving touchdown. I think that overall, Denver is going to be fine. This was an emotional loss and kind of a dumb move by Nathaniel Hackett. They're going to figure it out. I think the Broncos are still going to be very good. You got to remember, Denver's schedule is not that bad. It's not bad, right? It's not a first-place schedule. So you get the Texans and the Niners, and you're going to get the Jets and the Jags and the Titans and the Panthers and the Cardinals. You're going to get a lot of teams that I think are very winnable on the schedule. I think, of course, to be the factor in the AFC West is an issue, but I'm not too concerned about what was wrong with Denver. You get rookie head coaching mistakes all the time. That's why it's so hard for rookie head coaches to win Super Bowls, because it's a lot of pressure to be Nathaniel Hackett right now. But the idea that Denver is going to win 7 or 8 games this year is ridiculous. Russ looked good last night, and their weapons on the outside are fantastic. Javonte Williams is really good. I think it was just an emotional game. A lot of drama going into that one, and they kind of got the best of them late in that game. Yes, Russ should have demanded that he, keep the ball in his hands on 4th down and 5, but in the end, to me, it's not that big a deal, and Denver's going to be okay. All right, as I always try to do, I know we try to focus on Philadelphia here on the Thomas Mott Show, but it's the Thomas Mott Show. I talk about whatever I want, so it's fun to hit on the National League stories of the day. Like yesterday, talking about Dak Prescott, the fact Dak Prescott, looking at 4, 6, 8 weeks out with that hand injury, what that means for the division, rest of the National Football League. It's always fun to kind of come on here and talk about different stories. So we'll keep doing that here on the show. If you guys appreciate what we do, you found me on YouTube here on the show. Go down below and subscribe. I would appreciate it. You can always find me on Twitter too, @RealThomasMott. I do a lot of Eagle tweets there as well. So if you guys like YouTube, you like Twitter, you're big social media people out there. I know the older generation is not. That's fine. Younger generation, though, if you guys want to follow me on Twitter, @RealThomasMott is the place to go. All right, all time we are today on our Thomas Mott Show in terms of talking about what's going on with Barnett and Jason Pierre-Paul and the Denver Broncos. We'll have plenty more on tomorrow's show, so stay tuned. And guys, have fun here on a Tuesday.